go any further, I would like to share a little about the latest carb intake. Carbohydrate group is now at level 2 with a recommendation of 3 to 5 servings daily. The Malaysian Food Pyramid 2020 suggests a lower carbohydrate intake percentage range of 50% to 65% compared to the Malaysian Food Pyramid 2010, which is 55% to 75%. The first function of carbohydrate is storing glucose as glycogen. Glucose that is not needed as fuel source is assembled into glycogen, which is primarily in the liver and skeletal muscle. A small amount stored in the brain. The process by which glucose is stored in the liver and muscle cells as glycogen is called glycogenesis. You can refer to the process of glycogenesis on the diagram. As we know, glucose transporters transfer glucose into liver and muscle cells. First step of glycogenesis is conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate. The enzyme hexokinase converts to glucose 6-phosphate once it enters the cell. ATP is required for this conversion. Then, glucose 6-phosphate is converted to glucose 1-phosphate by the enzyme phosphoglucosamase. Next, formation of UDP glucose. Glucose 1-phosphate combines with uridine triphosphate to create UDP glucose, which is mediated by the enzyme UDP glucose 5-phosphorylase. Next, formation of glycogen chains. The enzyme glycogen synthase induces the synthesis of alpha-1,4-glycosidic bonds between glucose molecules to create glycogen chains. In this process, UDP glucose acts as the donor of glucose residues. Last but least, formation of glycogen branches. Branching enzymes catalyze the production of alpha-1,6-glycosidic bonds among glucose molecules, resulting in the development of branches in the glycogen molecule. The glycogen molecule accumulates in the liver and muscle cell unless it is required in order to supply energy. The primary role of carbohydrates is to supply energy to all cells in the body. Many cells such as brain, nervous system, fetus, and fat metabolites prefer glucose as a source of energy versus other compounds like fatty acids. Some cells, such as red blood cells, are only able to produce cellular energy from glucose. The brain is also highly sensitive to low blood glucose levels because it uses only glucose to produce energy and function. You can refer to cell respiration is a process in which energy is captured from the glucose in the following diagram. Cellular respiration is basically a controlled burning of glucose versus an uncontrolled burning. A cell uses many chemical reactions in multiple enzymatic steps to slow the release of energy and more efficiently capture the energy held within the chemical bonds in glucose. The first stage in the breakdown of glucose is called glycolysis, which occurs in a series of 10 enzymatic reaction steps. The second stage of glucose breakdown occurs in the energy factory organelles called mitochondria. One carbon atom and 2 oxygen atoms are removed, yielding more energy. The energy from these carbon bonds is carried to another area of the mitochondria, making the cellular energy available in a form cells can use. Proteins and carbohydrates, however, play a larger part in energy production. Carbohydrates are said to spare proteins because your body uses carbohydrates for energy instead of proteins. As a result, your body uses protein for other purposes such as rebuilding muscles, making enzymes, or producing antibodies. Understanding how proteins and carbohydrates work together can ensure that you have enough energy, especially for athletic performance. When your body is forced to use proteins for energy, the loss of lean muscle tissue can make you feel weakened. Also, your kidneys must work overtime to excrete waste products from the protein breakdown in your urine. Because your body uses carbohydrates exclusively as an energy source, the depletion of carbohydrates and subsequent of proteins can lead to adverse mental symptoms such as dizziness, weakness, and decreased mental performance. When cells use fat as fuel, they need just a small amount of carbohydrates to break down the fat and release energy. In the absence of carbohydrates, the liver produces ketone bodies. Ketosis is the term for a state of high blood ketones. It can result in chronic drinking, diabetes mellitus, and starvation. However, there are few people using ketosis as a diet, which known as ketogenic diet. You can know you achieve ketosis by having a bad breath, which is caused by a ketone called acetone, weight loss, reduced appetite, headache, nausea, brain fog, and fatigue. It's common for a person new to ketosis to experience a myriad of symptoms known as the keto flu, such as headache, tiredness, nausea, and stomach upset. To know for certain that you are in ketosis, it is best to check your blood ketone levels using a urine or blood measurer. You have achieved ketosis if your blood ketones are between zero point 0.5 to 3.0 millimoles per liter.